figured it'd be fun to kick off spooky season by making Gateau Grand Marnier from A Treasury of Great Recipes by Vincent Price. Vincent Price is an actor. If you're unfamiliar, he played Dracula famously, probably his most famous role. If you're an older millennial like me, you remember him from 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo. He did a lot of stuff like that. He was also the father of, or the creator of Edward Scissorhands in that Johnny Depp movie. He actually was like a big-time gourmand and made this cookbook collecting recipes of restaurants around the world that he had been to, including like Pyramid Restaurant in France, which is a 2 Michelin star restaurant that still exists even today. But this book was published in 1965, so these are old recipes, and they're like from a bygone era. We don't generally eat recipes like this anymore. You don't see them, but they used to be all over the place. And the cool thing about this book is it includes pictures of the menus of the restaurants from the 60s and 50s, as well as portraits and pictures of the restaurants themselves. So it's a neat little time capsule. This is orange, orange, orange. This cake is Grand Marnier. It's orange juice. It's orange zest. It's also really soft and moist like a rum cake. So we're going to go ahead and dig into this one. I think you're going to enjoy it. We're going to begin this recipe by separating 3 eggs into yolks and whites. And you always want to be working with room temperature ingredients when you're making cakes. So we're going to take those whites and we're going to put them in to a stand mixer. And we're going to go ahead and whisk these until stiff peaks. You can see our nice little peak. So we're going to go ahead and remove these egg whites to a separate bowl and save them for later. And wipe down this bowl because we're going to continue to use it to make the cake batter. With the bowl now wiped down, I've put in 2 sticks of butter, which is 1 cup, and I'm going to add to that a cup of sugar. And we're going to beat those together until they form a white, fluffy, almost like buttercream frosting texture. This is the texture that we're going for. And now we're going to drop in the yolks, 1 yolk at a time, and blend each yolk individually just with a quick swirl before we've added all 3. Now we're going to use our Grand Marnier. If you don't drink like I don't, you can get it in these small sort of travel-sized bottles at your local wine store. So we're going to put a teaspoon of that in there. And one more time, we're going to just give it a quick swirl to get that Grand Marnier incorporated. In this bowl, I've mixed together 2 cups of all-purpose flour, as well as a teaspoon of baking soda and a teaspoon of baking powder. And we're going to put about 1/3 of that in. And from this container, we're going to put in 1 1/4 cups of sour cream. And we're going to alternate dry and wet ingredients as we often do in cakes. So you should end up with a nice creamy batter like this. Now we're going to add in the chopped up zest of a full navel orange to really double down on that orange flavor in this cake. And we're also going to add a cup of chopped walnuts. And we're just going to mix that in until it gets evenly distributed in our cake batter. The last element for the cake batter is to return those stiffly beaten egg whites back in. And just fold those in, trying to preserve as much air as possible. You don't want to vigorously whip these in. You want to try to just, almost like waves, bring the batter over the top of the egg whites until, and just stir it enough until everything ends up as a smooth batter and no more than that. I've preheated the oven to 350 degrees, and now we're going to pour our batter into a greased tube pan. I've got my tube pan filled, and we're going to go ahead and put this in our 350 degree oven for 50 minutes. While the cake is baking, we're going to make a syrup that we're going to soak the hot cake in once it comes out of the oven. So I've got 1/2 cup of sugar, and to that we're going to add a cup of orange juice. You can tell this is a very orange dessert, right? And the rest of the bottle of the Grand Marnier, which should be about somewhere between 1/4 to 1/3 of a cup. But you can use whatever amount you like, depending on how boozy you like it, honestly. And just get all that mixed up together. And we're just going to wait for our cake to finish now. The cake is fresh out of the oven and looking beautiful.
And while it's still hot, we're going to take our mixture of orange juice, Grand Marnier, and sugar, and we're going to spread this across the top, and we're going to soak this almost like a rum cake. Immediately after applying the sugar mixture to the top of the cake, we're going to take some blanched slivered almonds, and we're just going to sprinkle those across the top of the cake as well. And as that moisture is absorbed and sort of dries out a little bit, it'll stick these to the top of the cake.
I just unmolded the Gateau Grand Marnier, and this is like halfway between like a Florida rum cake and just like a really good cake donut. That juice was fully absorbed. There was no juice left over once I unmolded it, and it even really wasn't all that sticky. But you can kind of see if I poke it here, it's a very soft, extremely moist cake because of all that juice and Grand Marnier that it absorbed. So this is really good. This is like a recipe from a bygone era. Like I said, this book was published in 1965, and it's one of the things, these old recipes, especially ones that don't have pictures, that are quite fascinating to me. So if you have any suggestions for future recipes, feel free to leave them in the comments or shoot me an email, and I'm happy to add them to the list. I'll see you guys next time.